Hey, it's Brian Mudd. This is my cheat sheet for Wednesday, January 2nd. Happy New Year. And for the most part, your pocketbook will continue to see a reasonably happy New Year. But what is the fact and the fiction behind what happened in the whole fiscal cliff deal? Well, first of all, if you're a working schlub like the rest of us, you did get a tax increase. Don't let anybody fool you. One tax that everybody did end up getting passed on to them was a 2% increase, or to put it a different way, about a 47% tax increase on your Social Security taxes. They went from 4.2% to 6.2%. That's for everybody. So the first thing you want to do in terms of what the fiscal cliff resolution means to you and your pocketbook, take a look at your most recent pay stub, and assuming that's what your average earnings are, multiply what you paid in Social Security taxes by 0.47, 47%, and see what that number is. That's how much more money is going to be coming out of your paycheck every pay period to go towards Social Security taxes. So that's number one. You did get a tax increase. Secondly, you've heard the numbers by now, I'm sure, but the limits for the tax increase to go revert back to pre-Bush era tax policy hit those at $400,000 on individual income, $450,000 on household income. Now, what's significant about that is that percentage will go from the top rate right now of 35% to 39.1%. So what I'm going to do on my physical cheat sheet is actually update the tax tables so you can see exactly what tax you're going to be paying. All you have to do, go to my cheat sheet, figure out how much money you earn, take a look at the tax table. That'll tell you what percentage you're paying in federal income tax. Now, something else that was reasonably significant to the betterment generally of this deal, we had taken a look at raising dividend and Social Security taxes pretty much across the board. President Obama had proposed that for everybody. Well, as part of this resolution, taxes on dividends and capital gains will remain at 15%, for everybody, aside from those at that $400,000 and that $450,000 level. That is significant. And what I think is generally not very good policy that was passed as part of the fiscal cliff resolution, more on that during the show and at another time. That is something that is very important because raising taxes on investment for most investors was not a good plan. So those are going to be the finer points. Again, I'm not going to go through all the tax tables, and you can just go to the physical cheat sheet right below this video and take a look at that and see exactly what you'll be paying in more tax, or what you will remain paying. Now, the next stop is the debt ceiling. That hits February 28th. The president has said that he is going to look towards more tax increases, so it doesn't mean we're out of the soup yet. That also means that in terms of business activity, the financial markets, you're going to continue to see that volatility because we remember what happened with the debt ceiling the last time it was a big issue. That's what resulted in us getting to the fiscal cliff. So we are far from out of the soup, and that generally I think is bad news for the economy. Remember, a lot of the economic uncertainty has led to companies and individuals putting their hands in their pockets. Remember those terrible sales numbers that we were talking about from the holiday shopping season? 0.7% increase year over year. I mean, I was optimistic when I said we could see as good as 2%, but we know the National Retail Federation and all the Yahoo analysts that were calling for over 4% sales increases clearly didn't know what they were talking about. But here's the more important thing. Retail sales, consumer sales, account for 70% of all U.S. economic activity, which means that the odds are, by the time we figure out what the economy grew in the fourth quarter, it probably is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1%, meaning that if we're going to continue to deal with issues like the debt ceiling, more government policy, they won't get out of our way. They're going to continue to be in the way of businesses making decisions and you knowing what your overall taxes are going to be. But one thing they won't be, and here is some better news, I've got a tax filing update for you, is in the way of your taxes any more than they already are. You might recall back in early mid-December, I mentioned that because of the whole fiscal cliff thing, all of the politicians trying to decide what they're going to do with tax policy, including for 2012, we actually weren't going to see tax forms available until sometime, potentially in late January, for tax filing in March. Well, now that we do have it resolved, and the AMT, by the way, was resolved as part of the whole fiscal cliff deal, which was the overhang from 2012. The IRS is going to be able to get together tax forms. They're going to have them out sometime within the next 3 weeks. That means that your accountant or whoever keeps your books will have access to those probably by the beginning of February. And if you use tax filing software, a la TurboTax or others, they should be able to have those programs up and updated by early to mid-February as well. So you're still going to be delayed in your filing over past years if you like to file early, but you'll probably be able to file by mid-February rather than potentially as late March. And here's one more for you real quick. If you do nothing else to start 2013, because I'm not a big resolution person, I believe in trying to better yourself, but I don't think that necessarily happens when the date on the calendar changes. You have to be committed to the change, right? But if you do nothing else, do this. Retirement plan. Get this. Only 10% of us actually have an actual plan in place for retirement. And we all should, regardless of what your age is. Especially these days when there's more uncertainty in the future regarding Social Security and Medicare. So what you actually want to do is goal set and work your way backwards. Figure out what you want your standard of living to be, by the way. On average, by the time you're 45, that is going to be about the most money that you're earning during the course of your life for the average person. Your earnings tend to peak in your 40s and plateau at that point. So you might want to base it off of that expectation and sit down with a planner and figure out what you have to do, regardless of what age you are, in order to get there. With only 10% of Americans actually having a real plan, only 10% of Americans even know if they're on track to be able to reach their goals in retirement. Everybody else is just hoping it all works out. And that's no way to enter the new year, especially when you have to worry about all the folks in Washington constantly. That's the cheat sheet for today. Plenty more on the physical cheat sheet. Enjoy yours, and we shall see you tomorrow.